The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council glowed with soft blue light as 50 species gathered for their monthly meeting. Tall windows showed the stars outside, where ships from across the galaxy floated peacefully. Councillor Tay stood at the center platform, his scaled skin reflecting light as he discussed trade routes. The southern sectors report increased shipping activity, Tay said. We should consider expanding the monitoring stations along. A sharp alarm cut through his words. Every screen in the hall flashed red. The council members looked up in confusion as their devices buzzed with urgent alerts. Security Director Hannah rushed into the chamber, her normally calm face showing clear worry. Counselors, we have detected an unknown vessel entering protected space near the Darien Nebula. Pirates again? Asked Tay with a sigh. No, sir. Hannah's voice trembled slightly. This is different. The vessel is massive. Our sensors struggle to fully scan it. The main display screen activated, showing a sleek black ship cutting through space. It was unlike any design the Council had seen before. Long and powerful, with smooth lines and what looked like weapon ports along its sides. Where did it come from? Asked Councillor Nam, rising from his seat. Unknown, sir. It appeared at the edge of our detection range and is moving directly toward the Council station. The room filled with nervous whispers. Unknown ships did not simply appear in Council space. The borders were heavily monitored. Energy readings? Asked Tay. Hannah looked down at her datapad. Off the charts, sir. The power signature is, well, it's beyond our measurement scales. And there are weapons systems we can't even identify. Deploy the defense fleet, ordered Tay. And open communications. The Council watched nervously as their ships moved to intercept the unknown vessel. The sleek black ship continued its approach, showing no signs of slowing down. Sir, said Hannah, our ships report that the vessel is 10 times larger than initially estimated. It's enormous. Tay felt a cold fear settle in his stomach. Are they responding to hails? Not yet, sir. The diplomatic expert, June, stepped forward. We should transmit standard greeting protocols on all frequencies. Just as June reached for the communication console, every screen in the chamber flickered. The image of a being appeared, one that most council members had never seen before except in biological study databases. The creature had flat features, small ears, and skin in a light brown shade. It wore a dark uniform with shining symbols on the shoulders. This is Captain Park of the TNS Dauntless, representing the Terran Naval Forces, the being said in clear, translated speech. We come in peace and request diplomatic dialogue. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. Terran, whispered Tay. That's impossible. Humans, said Elder Counselor Sun, who had been silent until now. His ancient face looked pale. From Earth. They were confined to their home system. They lacked the technology for interstellar travel. Yet the evidence was before them. A human ship, massive and powerful, had somehow crossed the stars. Reply, ordered Tay. Tell them we welcome peaceful contact. June sent the message while security officers rushed around the chamber. The human captain waited patiently on screen. Our records indicate your species has not developed faster than light travel, said Tay carefully. Captain Park smiled slightly. Your records are outdated, Counselor. We've made some progress recently. How did you find us? Asked Sun. We detected your communication networks during our first test flight. We had no idea there were so many species so close to our system. The human paused. We're curious why no one ever contacted us officially. The question hung awkwardly in the air. No one wanted to mention the containment policy that had kept Earth isolated for centuries. We will discuss many things, said Tay diplomatically. Please maintain your position while we prepare a proper welcome. When the communication ended, the council exploded into panicked discussion. They shouldn't be here. How did they build such a ship? Those weapons could destroy half our fleet. Tay called for silence. The humans have arrived, regardless of what we thought possible. They appear peaceful, but that ship was built for war. We must proceed carefully. As the council argued, the massive human warship waited silently in space, its very presence changing the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Science Counselor Gene walked slowly around the holographic display of the human warship Dauntless. His team of engineers and scientists stood nearby, their faces showing a mix of worry and wonder. The ship floated in the display like a dark shadow, much larger than any council vessel. It shouldn't work, Gene said softly. None of it should work. His assistant, Young, nodded in agreement. The power readings make no sense. They're using some kind of fusion antimatter hybrid system that should be unstable. By all our science, that ship should explode. The Galactic Council had allowed a small team of scientists to visit the human vessel. Gene had spent 6 hours on board, and what he saw still troubled him. The humans had given them a tour, showing systems and technology that broke rules the council believed could not be broken. They're faster than light drive, Gene continued, pointing to the rear section of the hologram. They use principles we abandoned 300 years ago. We decided it was impossible. Apparently not, said Young. The door to the lab opened, and a human entered. She was Captain Park of the Dauntless, accompanied by her chief engineer, Kim. Both wore the dark uniforms of the Terran Naval Forces. Are you finding what you need, Counselor Gene? Asked Captain Park. Gene bowed slightly. Yes, thank you. Though I must admit, we have more questions than answers. Kim smiled. That's the nature of science, isn't it? Questions leading to more questions. Gene gestured to the hologram. Your shield technology. We've never seen anything like it. It adapts to different weapon types automatically? Yes, said Kim proudly. Our defensive systems analyze incoming attacks and adjust shield frequencies in microseconds. And your artificial intelligence integration. Gene hesitated. This was a sensitive topic. The Council had strict laws about AI after the machine wars 2 centuries ago. You're concerned about our AIs, said Captain Park directly. We know many species fear thinking machines. Ours are partners, not slaves or masters. Gene nodded uncomfortably. The human ship had multiple artificial intelligences running its systems. They spoke like people and made decisions independently. In Council space, such things were forbidden. May I ask, Gene said carefully, how humans developed such advanced technology while isolated? Our records showed your people had barely reached your own moon a few hundred years ago. Captain Park and Kim exchanged looks. We developed quickly, Park said. Especially in the last century. But we've been alone, with no outside help or interference. Everything we built ourselves. Later that day, Gene met with the full council to report his findings. The Grand Chamber was tense as he spoke. The human technology is beyond our current understanding in several key areas, he explained. Their power generation, weapons systems, and computational methods all exceed our capabilities. How is this possible? Demanded Counselor Tay. Humans were a primitive species when last observed. They should be centuries behind us. Gene displayed his scans of the Dauntless. They developed along different paths. Where we refined existing technologies, they explored theories we abandoned. Their isolation may have been an advantage. They weren't limited by our established thinking. And their weapons? Asked General Min, leaning forward with concern. Gene hesitated. Formidable. Their main cannons use particle acceleration beyond anything in our arsenal. And their targeting systems are perfect. During demonstrations, they hit test drones at distances our systems couldn't even detect. The council members whispered among themselves. There's more, continued Gene. Captain Park explained that they discovered interstellar travel accidentally. A quantum computing experiment revealed new physical principles we haven't discovered. They built their first star drive just 10 Earth years ago. 10 years, gasped Counselor Nam. From planetary travel to that ship in just 10 years? Yes, said Gene. Their rate of advancement is unprecedented. Elder Counselor Sun spoke from his seat. we must consider the implications. If humans continue to advance at this pace. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Everyone in the chamber understood what he meant. If humans had come this far in isolation, what would they achieve now that they had access to the galaxy? As the council debated what to do about the humans, Captain Park stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, looking out at the council station. "They're afraid of us," she said quietly to Kim. "Should they be?" he asked. Park watched the distant lights of alien ships moving cautiously around her vessel. "No. But they don't know that yet." 3 days after the human warship arrived, the Galactic Council was still in emergency session. The Grand Chamber, usually a place of calm discussion, had become a battleground of shouting voices and angry gestures. "These humans are dangerous," shouted General Min, his fist hitting the table. The leader of the Vorten Collective stood tall, his military uniform covered in medals. "They appeared from nowhere with a warship that outclasses our entire fleet." Ambassador Sue from the peaceful Ilari Confederation raised her hand for attention. "We cannot judge an entire species based on fear. The humans have shown no aggression. They responded to our signals and came in peace." "Peace," laughed Min. "That ship was built for war, not peace." Councillor Tay tried to keep order as more representatives joined the argument. The arrival of humans had split the council into two clear groups, those who feared the newcomers and those who saw opportunity in meeting them. "Their technology could benefit all of us," said Sue. "Imagine what we could learn from their power systems alone." "Or what they could learn from us," countered Min. "They're gathering intelligence even now." In the back of the chamber, away from the loud debate, an old archivist named Day sat quietly at a computer terminal. He had been searching the ancient records since the humans arrived, looking for information about Earth. Something about the situation bothered him. Why had no one contacted humans before now? "Councillor Tay," called Day suddenly, his voice cutting through the argument. "I've found something important." The room quieted as Day transferred his findings to the main screen. Ancient records appeared, showing reports from scout ships that had visited Earth centuries ago. "Earth was classified as a quarantine world," said Day, his voice shaking slightly. 500 years ago, the Council ordered that humans be isolated and prevented from joining galactic society." "What?" gasped Sue. "Why would we do such a thing?" Day read from the screen. Humans were categorized as unpredictably dangerous due to their rapid adaptability, resource consumption, and territorial instincts. The Council at that time voted to place monitoring stations near their system but forbid any contact. The chamber fell silent as everyone processed this information. "We kept them prisoner in their own system," whispered Sue. "For 500 years. "A wise decision," said Min firmly. "Look at what happened when they escaped. They built weapons we can't match." The debate might have continued for hours, but the doors to the chamber opened suddenly. Captain Park of the Dauntless entered, flanked by 2 human officers. She had been invited to address the council that day, but had arrived early. "Captain," said Tay awkwardly. "We were just discussing some historical matters." "Yes, I heard," said Park coldly. Her eyes moved to the screen where the quarantine order still showed. "You've been watching us all this time." No one spoke. What could they say? "For generations, my people looked at the stars and wondered if we were alone," continued Park. "We built telescopes and sent radio signals into space. We waited for answers that never came. And now I find out you were there all along, just watching." "It was before our time," said Tay weakly. "But you continued the policy," said Park. "You denied us our rightful place among the stars. You decided we weren't worthy." The silence in the room was painful. "How many other species have you judged this way?" asked Park. "How many others are trapped on their worlds, thinking they're alone?" Archivist Day, still at his terminal, looked uncomfortable. "There are 17 other quarantine species in various stages of development." This revelation sent new shock waves through the chamber. Many council members had no idea about these policies. "Captain Park," said Ambassador Sue, stepping forward. "Many of us had no knowledge of these actions. Not all Council species support such isolation. Then prove it, said Park firmly. My ship is here. Earth knows where we are. In 1 week, more human ships will arrive. We can either establish peaceful relations or. She didn't finish the sentence, but the implication was clear. The quarantine policy will be reviewed immediately, promised Tay. As the council dissolved into arguing factions once again, Captain Park left the chamber. Outside in the corridor, her officer Han asked quietly, "Are there really more ships coming?" Park smiled slightly. "No. The Dauntless is the only ship we have that can travel this far. But they don't need to know that." Back in the chamber, the political landscape of the galaxy was shifting. Old alliances were breaking as species chose sides. Some stood with Min and the Vortan, arguing that humans must be contained. Others joined Sue, believing it was time for a new approach. And in the shadows of the council station, certain military leaders began making plans of their own. General Min stood on the bridge of his command ship, the Vortan cruiser Victory. Around him, officers worked at their stations, preparing the ship for battle. Through the large viewing window, he could see 5 other Vortan warships moving into formation. "All ships report ready, General," said his second-in-command, Officer Quan. Min nodded with satisfaction. "The human vessel remains in position near the diplomatic station?" "Yes, sir." "They appear to be unaware of our approach." Min smiled coldly. "Good. The council debates while we act. A simple show of force will put these humans in their proper place." The Vortan battle group had launched without council approval. General Min had convinced his superiors that a demonstration of military power would solve the human problem quickly. The humans needed to understand their place in the galactic order. "Close to attack range but hold fire until my command," ordered Min. "Let's see how brave they are when facing real warships." Aboard the Dauntless, Captain Park sat calmly in her command chair as alerts sounded throughout the bridge. 6 Vortan warships approaching, Captain, reported her tactical officer, Lieutenant Du. "They've taken offensive formation." Park nodded, unsurprised. "It seems General Min has decided on a more direct approach." "Status of our systems?" "All systems ready, Captain. Shields at full capacity. Weapons on standby. Alert the crew but maintain defensive posture only," said Park. She opened a channel to the approaching ships. "Vortan vessels, this is Captain Park of the TNS Dauntless. You are approaching with hostile intent. Please state your purpose." On the Victory, General Min received the transmission and laughed. "They sound nervous." "Good." He opened a return channel. "Human vessel, this is General Min of the Vortan Collective. Your presence threatens galactic security. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded." Park's face showed no emotion as she replied, "That won't be happening, General. We suggest you return to your base." Min turned to his weapons officer. "Fire warning shots across their bow. Show them our power." The Vortan ships launched a barrage of energy weapons, deliberately missing the Dauntless but passing close enough to demonstrate their firepower. The bright beams lit up space around the human ship. What happened next shocked everyone watching. The Dauntless didn't move or return fire. Instead, a shimmering field appeared around the ship, pulsing with blue light. The field expanded outward rapidly, creating a perfect sphere around the human vessel. "What is that?" demanded Min. Before anyone could answer, the Dauntless moved. Despite its massive size, the ship accelerated with impossible speed, positioning itself behind the Vortan formation in seconds. "How did they?" Min started. "Sir! They've locked weapons on our engines!" shouted his tactical officer. Over the communication channel, Park's voice remained calm. "This is your only warning, General. Stand down." Min's face darkened with anger. "All ships, full attack. Target their weapon systems." The Vortan battle group opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams, missiles, and plasma torpedoes streaked toward the Dauntless. The human ship's response was elegant and precise. Point defense systems activated, tiny beams of light shooting out to intercept incoming missiles. The larger weapons splashed harmlessly against the blue shield, which changed color and pattern with each impact. "Their shields are adapting to our weapons," said Officer Quan with disbelief. "Each attack is less effective than the last." Then the Dauntless began its counterattack. It didn't target the ships themselves. Instead, precise beams hit weapon ports, engines, and communication arrays. One by one, the Vortan ships lost power and control systems. Within minutes, all 6 warships were drifting, disabled but intact. On the Victory, emergency lights flashed as systems failed throughout the ship. "Status report," demanded Min. "Engines offline. Weapons offline. Communications limited to short range," reported Quan. They disabled everything without killing anyone." The bridge crew stared at their screens in shock. The Dauntless had neutralized an entire battle group without destroying a single ship or taking a single life. Over the emergency channel, Park's voice came through clearly. "General Min, your ships are disabled but your life support systems remain functional. We will now send medical teams to assist any injured crew members." Min couldn't believe what he was hearing. "They're sending help? After we attacked them?" Throughout the Galactic Council station, representatives had watched the short battle in stunned silence. What they witnessed changed everything they thought they knew about military power. "Did you see that?" whispered Counselor Nam to Ambassador Su. "They could have destroyed those ships." Su nodded. "But they chose not to. That's the most impressive thing of all." As small shuttles launched from the Dauntless, heading toward the disabled Vortan ships with medical teams and repair crews, the balance of power in the galaxy shifted permanently. The humans hadn't just demonstrated superior technology. They had shown mercy. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from all 50 member species filled the rows of seats, with many standing along the walls. The emergency session had been called immediately after the incident with the Vortan ships. Counselor Tay stood at the central platform, looking tired but determined. Beside him stood Captain Park of the Dauntless, her dark uniform standing out among the colorful robes of the council members. "This emergency session will now begin," announced Tay. "The events of yesterday have changed our situation dramatically. General Min's unauthorized attack on the human vessel has created a diplomatic crisis." From his seat, General Min glared at Captain Park. His usually proud posture was diminished after his rescue by human medical teams. "The Vortan Collective was acting to protect Council interests," he said defensively. "By attacking a diplomatic visitor," asked Ambassador Su. "You violated our most basic principles." The chamber filled with voices arguing until Tay called for order. "Captain Park has requested to address the Council directly. Given recent events, we have granted this request." Park stepped forward to the speaker's position. The room fell silent as everyone watched the human captain. "Members of the Galactic Council," Park began, her voice clear and strong. "Yesterday's incident was unfortunate but perhaps necessary. It showed clearly what Earth is capable of, and what we are not willing to do." She paused, looking around the chamber. "We could have destroyed those ships. Instead, we disabled them carefully. This is who we are. We defend ourselves when attacked, but we do not seek violence." Several council members nodded in approval. "Earth seeks peaceful relations with all species," continued Park. "But we will not accept second-class status. We offer technological exchange and cooperation, but as equals, not as subjects." She turned to face Tay directly. "The Council must acknowledge its error in quarantining Earth. That policy kept my people isolated for centuries while we struggled alone with disease, resource shortages, and environmental challenges." The room was silent as her words sank in. "What exactly are you asking for?" asked Tay carefully. "Full recognition of Earth as a sovereign stellar nation," replied Park. "Equal trading and travel rights. And a formal apology for the quarantine policy." General Min stood suddenly. "This is outrageous. They appear with one ship and make demands of the entire council? One ship that disabled 6 of your best warships without casualties, reminded Ambassador Sue. And they saved your crews afterward. The political debate continued for hours. Some species feared human technology. Others saw opportunity in alliance. Through it all, Captain Park waited patiently as the galaxy decided Earth's fate. During a brief recess, several representatives approached Park privately. The Alari, the Dren Trading Collective, and even the Ancient Cardiff offered immediate bilateral agreements regardless of the Council's decision. When the session resumed, Councillor Tay called for a vote. The motion before us is to formally recognize Earth as a sovereign stellar nation with all rights and privileges thereof. We will also review and likely terminate the quarantine policy for all isolated species. The votes were cast one by one. Some species, like the Vorten, voted against. But as the final counts were displayed, the result was clear: Earth would be welcomed into the galactic community. Captain Park, said Tay formally, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome humanity to the stars. A formal apology for past policies will be drafted and sent to your government. Park nodded in acknowledgement. Earth accepts and looks forward to peaceful cooperation. As the session ended, many council members rushed to introduce themselves to Park. The political landscape had shifted overnight. Species that had dominated council politics for centuries found their influence suddenly diminished. Later that evening, Park returned to the Dauntless. In her private quarters, she opened a secure channel to Earth. Connection established, reported the communications officer, Han. You're speaking directly to the United Earth government. Park took a deep breath before speaking. This is Captain Park of the Dauntless. First contact mission successful. The Galactic Council has granted Earth full recognition as a sovereign stellar nation. She smiled slightly before continuing. It appears they're more afraid of us than we ever were of them. Their technology exceeds ours in some areas but lags behind in others. Most importantly, they are divided. Many species have already sought private alliances with us. Park looked out her viewport at the stars. Humanity's place among the stars is secured. We are no longer alone, and we will never be isolated again. Park out. As the communication ended, the Dauntless orbited silently against the backdrop of countless stars and worlds, a single human ship that had forever changed the course of galactic history.